Recording in progress.
I welcome all members who have logged in the mini-plenary session. There will now be an opportunity for silence prayer or meditation. Thank you, honorable members. Before we proceed, I would like to remind you that the virtual mini-plenary is deemed to be in presence of Parliament and constitute a meeting of National Assembly for debating purposes only. In addition, honorable members, to the rules of virtual sittings, the rules of the National Assembly, including the rules of debate, apply. The rules of the National Assembly, including the rules of debate, members enjoy the same powers and privileges that apply in a sitting of the National Assembly. Honorable members should equally note that anything said in the virtual platform is deemed to have been said to the House and may be ruled upon. All honorable members who have logged in shall be considered to be present and are requested to mute their microphone and only unmute when recognized to speak. This is because the mics are very sensitive and will pick up noise which might disturb the attention of other members. When recognized to speak, please unmute your microphone, and when connectivity permits, connect your video. Members may make a use of icon on the bar at the bottom of their screens, which has an option that allows a member to put his or her hand up to raise a point of order. The Secretariat will assist and alert the chairperson to members requesting to speak. When using the virtual system, members are urged to refrain or desist from unnecessary points of order or interjections. Lastly, honorable members, I wish to remind you that we are in a meeting, in a mini-plenary session, and therefore any decision will be taken in a full plenary sitting of the Assembly. The first order of the day, honorable members, is the first reading. The first order of the day is the consideration of the report of the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services on oversight visits to Eastern Cape, Limpopo, and Free State provinces. I now recognize Honorable G. Makwanishe, the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee.
Thank you very much, Acting House Chairperson, Honorable Ministers and Deputy Ministers, Honorable Members. Between January 2022 and April 2023, the committee embarked on oversight visits in all 9 provinces, covering both justice entities and correctional facilities. Oversight visits to the institutions is one of the tools the committee is using to assess the performance of both departments, to keep members of the committee abreast with day-to-day operations on the ground. The visits helps members to understand the challenges and frustrations of the stakeholders who are in the coalface of service delivery on a daily basis, and to make appropriate interventions where possible. The main focus of our visits was largely on infrastructure. Our report sets out in details of each site visit, but the following issues were commonly observed. Court buildings were not well maintained, and some were even unsafe. Some of our correctional centers are indeed in a very old, dilapidated, and in need of major upgrades, especially Town Youth in Barberton. We noted that maintenance appears to be largely reactive, taking place after a problem occurs. Term contracts to ensure that preventative maintenance occurs were not in place. We observed a lack of security at many of the courts. Security equipment was neither lacking or faulty. For example, at many of the courts and correctional facilities we visited, fire extinguishers and sprinklers were not serviced regularly. Some courts were reportedly without electricity and water for lengthy periods, halting court operations and causing delays. There was a shortage of accommodation at many of the courts. As a result, the cramped conditions affected the ability of officials to do their work. This is especially challenging where privacy is needed when consulting with victims of gender-based violence. At the beginning of May this year, we met with the Chief Justice, Deputy Chief Justice, and heads of court to share our observations and to obtain input of the judiciary. During the visit, we asked departments to attend to the issues identified and report back to us within a specified time frame. We also called a meeting in late May with stakeholder departments to respond to matters raised during the visit in a holistic manner. We are quite pleased that the Department of Correctional Services is currently implementing successfully their self-sufficiency and sustainability model. Through this model, the department used their own bakery to bake bread for offenders. The medium big clinic in Barberton was revamped using offender labor. The committee was impressed with the quality of furniture produced at Boksburg Correctional Center, which is sold to government departments, including courts in Mpumalanga. The committee would like to encourage departments to place orders for their furniture needs with the Department of Correctional Services. Towards the end of November this year, we will meet again with the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services and Minister of Public Works to review progress made. We would like to thank all officials who every day are trying their level best to serve our people. I move that this report be considered favorably. Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Makwanishe. I now recognize Honorable Engelberg. Over to you.
Thank you, House Chair. During the visit by the Committee to Correctional Services, Facilities and Courts, very similar problems came to the fore at all of these facilities. It seems that problems associated with the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure are not isolated to prisons and courts alone, according to other committees' oversight reports. During the oversight visit, the vast majority of problems, especially those that have been unresolved for an extended period of time, are of a DPWI nature. Our courts and prisons can't fulfill their constitutional mandate in a dilapidated state of disrepair. The Magistrates' Court in Messina is not fit for human occupation. What the committee saw there was shocking. Those people are working in extremely poor conditions thanks to DPWI. The High Court in Polokwane seems shiny and impressive from the outside, but it is falling apart on the inside. A brand new building that cost the taxpayers millions, almost useless because of shoddy workmanship. Storage facilities for court records is a problem. Insufficient office space for prosecutors and magistrates was a reoccurring theme that seems to go unresolved year in, year out. The pressure officials experience as a result of constant understaffing and excessive caseloads is very apparent in community corrections. Last month's sentence remission can only add to their woes. The recent communication from Treasury about cost saving in all departments unfortunately means that this pressure would only increase. The staff shortage at the time of the oversight at the Mangaung Correctional Center is alarming. The ratio between officials and offenders there was 1:60, and they spent 435 Rand and 44 cents per offender per day, which is excessive. Not all is doom and gloom, though. The self-sufficiency of facilities is increasing in terms of food production and other areas in the Department of Correctional Services, and this is commendable. The DA supports the report. Thank you, Madam House Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I now recognize Honourable EFF.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chairperson, when the committee conducted these oversight visits, it was before the whole drama relating to Thabo Bester and Nandipha Magudumane was blown open. But even before that, the economic freedom fighters had been consistently raising our discomfort with having 2 correctional centers run by private companies. We warned the department about the emergence of the prison industrial complex in South Africa through the incarceration of Black people in particular. For having 2.
Honourable Mokhale, please
corruption
switch off. Honourable Mokhale, just switch off your video. Your connectivity is not so good. Much better. You may proceed.
Thank you, Chairperson. The corruption that goes on at these centers is beyond mind-boggling. It is numbing. Money can actually get away with anything at these centers. They are able to leverage better living conditions from bribing other inmates and correctional services staff. There is a need for radical overhauling of our correctional because they've become a breeding grounds. Almost all of the centers were overpopulated, making it difficult to run proper rehabilitative and correctional programs at these centers, and making violence a daily norm, particularly for those who are not affiliated to the prison gangs. Many of these centers, such as the one in Makado, have dilapidated buildings, and at the rate at which maintenance is ignored at these centers, it is just a matter of time to take place, which may lead to death of thousands. Very few of these centers engage the labor of prisoners to do any productive work. We had previously indicated that instead of buying food from outside, correctional centers ought to use inmates to produce their own food in massive pieces of land that it owns. This report does not provide for any tangible intervention to correct all these issues. We therefore reject this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I now recognize Honourable Member IFP. I now recognize Honourable Swartan, advise ACDP.
No, thank you, House Chair. House Chair, the ACDP welcomes and supports this oversight report of these visits. It forms part of a series of oversight visits the committee undertook during the 6th Parliament. And of significance is that it included for the first time, as far as I can remember, an announced visit to the Correctional management area, an unannounced visit. Such surprise visits should be conducted more frequently to avoid the special efforts made to impress parliamentary delegations when notice is given of our visits, whilst the true state of affairs remains hidden. In the case of Correctional, the committee was concerned about the old and dilapidated infrastructure, and this could be attributable to poor relations between the department and public works, and one trusts that these issues have been resolved by now. The situation with a number of facilities is deplorable. They've not been maintained or properly repaired. The visit to the then privately run Mangaung Correctional Services took place in April last year, just prior to the infamous Thabo Bester escape in May, which was brought to light almost a full year later. While the report states the committee was impressed with the way that centre has been operated, little did it know what has actually been planned by Mr. Bester at the time. The committee also visited the notorious St. Albans Correctional Centre, and the question arises, how can such a large maximum security centre not have a backup generator, given the increased hours of load shedding? And one trusts that this has been resolved by now. The committee also expressed concerns about contrabands and, of course, gangsterism, which is rife in many of the prisons. The ACDP welcomes the report and the trusts that the issues that have been raised, as pointed out by the chairperson, will be addressed by the relevant authorities. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I now recognize UTM. I guess IFP is not on the platform. Equally for UTM, ATM. Equally so, good. AIC. I recognize Honorable Cope. I'm advised that you are in the platform.
Yes, Chair, thank you very much. Congress of the People welcomes the report, and it is important for us to indicate that the picture that the report is painting should be much of a concern to us, because it points to a failure by public works in helping government to maintain government facilities all over the country. And at the same time, the public expects that officials within these facilities should be in a position to work at their best so that they can deliver a service to the taxpayers. But unfortunately, you can't expect that a person should operate at the maximum within an environment that is depressing. So we would urge that some call should be made to public works that failure to provide proper facilities both in our courts and our prisons it's a failure to have those facilities to serve our people. And therefore, we really welcome what this the report portrays, and we would really call on public works to put its act in place. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I guess Honourable PAC is not on the platform. That will bring us, Honourable Members. I recognize the ANC. Honourable Ngola.
House Chair, the ANC rises in support of the Oversight report on the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services. The National Development Plan requires, among others, that we build safer communities, promote accountability and fight corruption, and strengthen judicial governance and the rule of law. The National Assembly has a constitutional duty as outlined in Section 55, subsection 2, B1 and 2 of the Constitution to maintain oversight over the national executive and any organ of state. The Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services undertook oversight visits to Eastern Cape, Limpopo, and Free State provinces between the 19th to the 23rd of April 2022. Two of our focus areas in the oversight visits were rehabilitation and social reintegration. We are acutely aware of the importance of rehabilitation. After all, it is the core business of the Department of Correctional Services. We're impressed with what we have witnessed at Kutama Sentumule Correctional Center during the oversight visit, and acknowledge the cooperation between the Department of Correctional Services and Kutama Sentumule Correctional Center. In Mangaung House Chair, we recommended that the management of the center should take steps to invest in skills development of offenders, entrepreneurship, leadership, and management. Of course, House Chair, this report comes a month before the Thabo Pesta saga. At that time, we were impressed with what we have seen. Of course, there were developments after the oversight visit. We were impressed with the way the center is being operated. At the time, it was before a lot has happened. We have experienced some of the skills development, the offenders having made to do a lot of things that were impressive. Of course, it was before the notorious escape. House Chair, we are impressed with the way the center is being operated at St. Albans. We appreciate the operations of the self-sufficiency model. We recommend that there should be an interdepartmental collaboration between Department of Correctional Services and Department of Human Settlements to address the issue of informal settlement emerging near the facility at St. Albans. It's one of the issues, House Chair, that were raised with us, that part of the challenge of contrabands being taken to the correctional center as a result of the human settlement coming very close to the correctional center. We appreciate the efforts made by the department. We wish to encourage it to follow through on our recommendations and continue contributing positively to the nation. House Chair, the African National Congress supports the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Members, now we shall proceed to second order of the day. We shall now proceed to the second order of the day, which is the consideration of the report of the Portfolio Committee on Defence and Military Veterans on the oversight to selected military bases and DMV housing sites in the Bloemfontein area from the 23rd to the 25th of November 2022. I now recognize the Honourable VC Kaba, the chairperson.
Good afternoon, colleagues. Greetings to ministers and deputy ministers on the platform. Honorable Chair, thank you very much for the opportunity. The Portfolio Committee on Defence and Military Veterans conducted an oversight visit to selected military bases and facilities of the Department of Military Veterans in the Bloemfontein area. The area visited including the South African Air Force Base in Bloemfontein, the DOD Mobilization Center at De Brugh, 3 military hospital, the Tempe Military Base, and the DMV housing sites in Hillside's view. The primary aim of the visits to these facilities was to acquaint ourselves on the conditions and challenges experienced at these facilities, to gain insight into the lived experience of our soldiers on the ground. The committee wishes to express its gratitude to the Chief of the National Defence Force, and who not only opened up the bases for inspection, but also designated Major General Charles to ensure that he was on the ground and visited, and the visit was a success, and also released the Chief of the South African Defence Force to welcome the committee members and accompany them to all identified Air Force bases. The committee visited the Air Force Base in Bloemfontein for a visit. This base provides an attack helicopter capability and air crew and ground crew training, and air support unit, and also support external deployment to the DRC and Mozambique, and mobilization of deployment. The report lists the success and challenges experienced in the base. Its success is registered in its successful missions abroad. There are a few challenges that are undermining this success. Namely, one, a lack of helicopter fleet serviceability and availability of space for operations and training. And this impacts on training and operations and the causes offered by the helicopter flying school. The committee also visited the DOD Mobilization Center. It is a fourth-line depot in support of landward mobilization and demobilization. It is responsible for the Chief Army's logistical support, warehousing, and preservation of the landward forces prime mission equipment. The committee was encouraged with the resuscitation of rail system at the base and the repair and maintenance of our prime mission equipment through the utilization of Operation Tusano. This skill transfer program is implemented in partnership with a Cuban specialist to help the department re-establish its in-house capability. The program has seen thousands of Army fleet brought into operation. The committee commended the DOD for establishing its own in-house capability to reduce reliance on the private sector and reduce cost. The committee was informed of the termination of the contract with a service provider appointed to maintain the environmentally controlled warehouse system to keep our prime mission equipment operationally ready for immediate deployment. The committee is concerned that our equipment is not kept in pristine condition and that it may not be ready when it is needed. And the committee also visited the hospital, the 3 military hospitals. The hospital is well kept and is the pride of the Defense Force. However, the committee expressed its concern with regard to some refurbishment projects that appear to be on hold due to funding challenges. The committee recommends that the DOD reprioritizes its budget and ring-fence a budget for the funding of the infrastructure requirements of this hospital. And the committee also visited the housing site. The committee proceeded to site inspection of the houses awarded to military veterans. It was a mixed bag. Some houses met.
I'm afraid, Honorable Baba, your term is up.
While others did not. This report is now presented on behalf of the committee. It's my pleasure, Honorable Chair, to do so. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Honorable Baba. Honorable members, now I recognize Honorable SJF Mare. Mares? DA?
Chairperson, can you hear me? I'm here. Thank you.
Yes, now I can hear you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chairperson. During our visit, we visited Air Force Base Bloemfontein, the MOB Center at the Brug, 3 Military Hospital, Tempe Military Base, and the Military Veterans Housing Site in Hillside View. At Air Force Base Bloemfontein, we discussed pressing concerns regarding our strategic helicopter readiness and availability with the Chief of the Air Force, Lieutenant General Mbambu. 16th Squadron is the home of our lethal Rooivalk attack helicopter capability, while all helicopter pilots and ground crew are products of 87 Helicopter Flying School, with a 6 air support unit providing essential maintenance and support also for our external deployments to the DRC and Mozambique. During frank discussions, serious concerns were raised regarding the condition of the base infrastructure, as well as our helicopter readiness and defense capabilities, including
Honorable Mare, I guess you have disappeared. With that, if there is no other member from the DA wants to finish up the sentence that Honorable Mare was talking to. Oh.
The problem is the problem of the renewable energy. It's not consistent.
No, Honorable Mani, we are not recognized. Thank you very much. We can handle this. I guess, honorable members, when he's in a good space, he has 1 minute left. We'll give him. We will proceed, honorable members. However, I'll recognize now the honorable member EFF. I guess we don't have honorable member EFF. Honorable members, we shall proceed. I'm advised that we don't have IFP, UDM, ATM, GOOD, and AIC. For completeness of the schedule of speakers that were submitted, I recognize the EFF, which nobody responded. We shall proceed. Honorable IFP, Honorable UDM, Honorable ATM, Honorable GOOD, AIC. I now recognize Honorable Cope. I guess you're still on the platform, Honorable Member from Cope.
You may pass, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. I recognize the PAC, Honorable Member PAC. Having no response, we shall proceed to recognize Honorable T.N. Mutle, ANC. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, House Chair. And honorable members, the African National Congress extends its appreciation to the diligent effort of the Portfolio Committee of Defense and Military Veterans during their recent oversight visit to selected military bases and Department of Military Veteran Housing site in the Bloemfontein area. We value the commitment demonstrated by the committee in assessing the condition and challenges faced by this vital institution and in formulating a thoughtful recommendation to address these challenges. With regard to AFB Bloemfontein, we share the committee's concern about the adverse impact of ongoing budget cuts, particularly on that particular military base. It is imperative for the Department of Defense to present well-defined budgetary priorities during annual budget deliberation to effectively address these challenges. The proposed multifaceted approach to mitigate funding constraints for spare parts and equipment maintenance is a prudent and necessary step. We therefore call that there must be an exception on the defense budget, on the defense when it comes to budget cuts, as well as austerity measures. Furthermore, we find merit in considering the migration of DINEL back into the defense portfolio, given its indispensable role in supporting the South African National Defence Force. The DoD Mobilization Center at De Breg has encountered challenges related to unserviceable and obsolete vehicles. We fully endorse the committee recommendation for the DoD to conduct a comprehensive assessment of Army vehicle requirements and to collaborate closely with the National Treasury to address these needs. It is equally vital to emphasize the significance of effective skills transfer to ensure cost-effective and efficient equipment maintenance. We appreciate as the ANC the work done by the Cubans to bring to life some of this Army prime mission equipment under Project Tusana. Turning our attention to the DMV housing site at the Hillside View, we express our deep concern regarding the irregular housing awards. We recognize the necessity for a joint investigation by the Department of Human Settlement and the Department of Military Veterans. It is of utmost importance that the Military Veteran National Database is swiftly finalized to serve as a foundation for benefit provision. We are aware of the DMV challenges in providing housing to military veterans and endorse the committee recommendation to establish realistic annual target following a consultation with the Department of Housing. In conclusion, House Chair, the ANC commends the Portfolio Committee for their comprehensive oversight visit and the invaluable recommendation put forth to address the challenges faced by this institution. We endorse the proposed action and call upon all relevant stakeholders to collaborate effectively in implementing this recommendation to enhance the effectiveness and efficiency of our defense and military veteran support system. The African National Congress unequivocally expressed its full support for the oversight report presented by the Portfolio Committee. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mutle. That concludes the debate. Honorable members, the third order, which is the consideration of the report of the Portfolio Committee on Police on Oversight visit to the Northern Cape and Gauteng provinces on the 21st to the 22nd of May 2023. I now recognize Honorable A.M. Siapi. Over to you, Honorable Member. Honorable Siapi, or any other member that can table the report. May I request the whips of various political parties that they do indicate to their members that we're a little bit ahead of time because we've got lesser speakers on these reports, that they will be expected to be on the platform from the beginning to the end and stay on the gadget.
Yeah, House Chair will do that. Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable.
Maybe we can extend the time for us, Chair. Thank you.
No, honorable members, to be fair to other members, you could see that we started at 10 and now it's just after 10:30. So the envisaged time was calculated like that, probably just for fairness. I will just request 1 minute for us to get Honorable Siapi, or else we shall move and proceed with the business of the day, because ordinarily members should be on the platform.
Here.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Over to you. You are recognized, Honorable Siapi, for your report.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Chairperson, in May this year, the Portfolio Committee on Police undertook an oversight visit to the Northern Cape and Gauteng provinces. The committee visited the 3 Battalion of the South African National Defence Force in Kimberley, where SAPS recruits are being trained, and also visited the Kimberley Central Police Station to tour the facilities and receive a briefing on the local crime situation in Kimberley. In the Gauteng province, the committee visited the Tshwane Training Academy and the Central Firearm Register to assess progress made in terms of firearm license applications. During a tour of the facilities at 3 the committee noted that the base is more suited and geared towards the training of soldiers, and that would have been better to accommodate all trainees at SAPS Training Academy. However, the use of external facilities was unavoidable with the additional intake of police trainees in both 2022 and 2023. It must be said that our Defence Force is running an impressive operation at 3 and should be commended. The sheer volume and quality of meals being prepared in their kitchens and served in the mess halls are truly remarkable. On behalf of the committee chair, I wish to once more express our appreciation to the Minister of Defence and Military Veterans, Honorable Thandi Modise, for accommodating the SAPS trainees at SANDF facilities. As part of our report, the committee recommends that a fully fledged SAPS training academy should be established in the Northern Cape. This will add enormously to the economy of the Northern Cape and will bring much needed stimulus to the Kimberley area. Honorable Chairperson, during the committee's tour of the Tshwane Training Academy campus, who were impressed with the facilities and had a very positive engagement with the trainees at their parade grounds. The committee addressed trainees with words of encouragement to complete their training and uphold discipline when deployed at police stations countrywide. As part of our report, the committee recommends that more efforts should be made to ensure gender and racial parity in recruits and trainees in future years, to ensure that all genders and demographic groups are represented in the SAPS. Honorable Chair, in Kimberley, the committee noted with great concern the proliferation of illegal liquor outlets and illegal mining activities. This have a significant impact on crime in the area. The impact of alcohol on crime has been well documented. The local municipality has a responsibility to close taverns operating outside approved trading hours. The municipality should further consider the impact of alcohol on crime when considering the approval of tavern licenses. The committee recommends that the Minister of Police must engage with his counterpart in the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition to address the proliferation of taverns and the impact thereof on crime. The committee noted and expressed its appreciation for the progress made at the Central Firearm Register to clear the significant backlog in firearm license applications that the committee observed during its previous visit in 2021. The committee encourages the department to continue making progress and to ensure that the timeframes and expenditure associated with the digitization of the CFR are closely monitored and adhered to. In closing, Chair, the committee expresses its gratitude to our Honorable President for the recruitment of additional police recruits in 2022 and 2023. These young men and women represent the future of the SAPS. The committee wishes the trainees well in their training and future careers in the SAPS. I therefore present the report before Parliament for consideration. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Member CRP. I now recognize Honorable M. General O.S. Teleplanche. Over to you, sir.
Chairperson and honorable members, the oversight visit presented to us was necessitated by the numerous complaints we received regarding the standard of both the accommodation as well as the poor food quality that students were subjected to at the Kimberley Training Center. Currently, the SAPS have to utilize other institutions' facilities to accommodate the additional intake of 10,000 recruits in an attempt to counter the ever-increasing crime rate, and also to implement the recommendations of both the panel of experts and the Farnham Commission. The committee furthermore visited the police training college in Pretoria, and it was evident that this was far from ideal, but maybe the best solution under the prevailing circumstances. I'm still uncertain with regards to the following. What will be the caliber of these police officers that we are planning to unleash on our streets after their basic training? Will they truly be able to make the difference that we all yearn for, or will it again be a bunch of instant constables, or better known as kits constables, that are simply not up to the task? Unfortunately, only time will tell. The chances of success will depend heavily on the quality of the leadership at the helm. We all are aware that the top management in some provinces could allegedly be infiltrated by well-known gangs active in the country. Not at all an encouraging scenario. This must be properly investigated with decisive and appropriate action to follow. Modern policing requires officers to be properly equipped to successfully execute their task, and sadly the SAPS have proven that they are lacking in this field. The time has come that SAPS to determine all their training requirements and develop state-of-the-art training facilities to pursue professionalization as an organization. Recruits we saw on parade consisted predominantly of African males However, gender and racial equality and inclusivity should be pursued to portray the SAPs as real representatives from the people, for the people, having the entire nation's interest at heart. The visit to the Kimberley Central Police Station was an enormous disappointment and urgent intervention is needed. The police station is part of the top 30 stations in the country, as it is amongst those with the highest national crime rates. Crime prevention activities, or a lack thereof, are largely ineffective. Detectives cannot cope with the caseload, and detection and conviction rates paint a grim picture of the fight lost against criminals. Central Firearm Register, this will follow up visit. The Central Firearm visit is still housed in the Veritas building that was declared unfit for human occupation. It was suggested that steps should be taken to vacate the building as soon as possible, as it is a criminal offense to occupy a condemned building. The Telkom towers has been identified as an alternative to relocate to, but it will take a significant time to finalize necessary alterations before this move can be effective. The Central Firearm Register is still plagued with a range of shortcomings, but some progress has been made and turnaround times have improved. There is still a long road ahead to render quality service, but progress made is acknowledged. The DA support this report. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I recognize Honourable Member EFF. I guess we shall proceed. For completeness. Oh, you are here. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, our members were part of these oversight visits at SPS training centers, as mentioned, and to the firearms registry and other places. And they reported the appalling conditions in which these centers are run. We are appalled that SAPS was required to pay South African National Defence Force over 117 million for the use of the training facilities, even though both are government departments concerned with the safety of the nation. We are also infuriated when we learned that in the midst of the thousands who applied to join SAPS, there is a considerable number of those who join and drop out of training, and that those responsible for training do not keep proper records of these dropouts and the reasons for their dropping out. We agree with the recommendations that a fully fledged and properly managed SAPS training academy be established in the Northern Cape to prevent the mismanagement that is currently taking place. At the Central Firearms Registry, we stand by the gross incompetence of those tasked with the managing of this department. Thousands of firearms and ammunition are lost every single year, and there is no mechanism to track those firearms, and they end up being used to commit crimes in the country. There was no destruction of intercepted firearms and the ammunition for the 2021-22 financial year, and to this day, it is not clear what happened to these. This is very concerning, Chairperson. The likelihood that these have found their way back into the hands of the criminals cannot be ruled out. From the way the Central Firearms Registry is managed, it is difficult to argue with the perception that the police are a key component of the escalation of violent crimes in this country. That they're actively working with gang bosses to supply them with illegal firearms. This is one of those oversight visits, Chairperson, that should be no partisanship, there should be no politics in this. We should all be focused on fighting criminality. This report must be rejected with the contempt it deserves. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I now recognize for completeness IFP, UTM, ATM, Good, AIC, Honorable Cope, are you still on the platform?
Sorry, Chairperson, Sheikh Imam, NFP, I'm here.
Okay, my apology. Earlier on, you are not here. Over to you, Honorable Cope. Just give us a second. Let me recognize Honorable Sheikh Imam. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairperson. This particular oversight visit was perhaps the last time that members of this portfolio committee had the opportunity of interacting with our former chairperson, Jumat Patterson. May her soul rest in peace. Yes, we spent a considerable amount of time. We went to Kimberley, of course, which was a hometown in any event. We visited the training centers. We visited Kimberley. Let me not forget that she did some campaigning for the ANC in these events as well. But very importantly, I'm not sure what my colleagues have seen that is a little different to me. I remember that the chairperson was insisting that she wanted to go and check the firearm registry officers. And in my understanding, we saw a lot of progress there. There was so much of backlog when we went there previously to this time. She was actually quite satisfied, and all members that were there showed some level of satisfaction that there was quite a bit of progress. However, when we came to the issue of the Kimberley police station, we found serious problems, foreign nationals, illegal mining, the large number of taverns that were open there 24 hours a day. And one of the problems we identified there again was that the liquor licenses that the local municipalities that were issuing to these tavern owners for them to operate 24 hours, which is shooting up the crime. And that is why Kimberley is one of the 30th highest crime spots in the country. So yes, those were some of our observations, but very importantly on the colleges that we visited, we were satisfied with the services that we provide, the cleanliness, the food, catering for halal and vegetarians. The only concern we had were recruits, because some people were being recruited, monies were being spent, Chairperson, and some of them did not get there. Some got there, spent a week or so because they were offered better jobs. And it is for that reason, as the NFP, we've always said, recruitment process must start with basic education. Grade 10, 11, and 12, let's introduce policing in those subjects in the curriculum so that you'll attract the right kind of them. Otherwise, anybody and everybody that is unemployed, when you put an advertisement out, is going to apply. And I'm glad that the National Commissioner, Minister of Police and others are taking cognizance of that and are going to do something about it. But the national freedom part, we're quite satisfied with the oversight that we've conducted, that there was progress, particularly in the firearm registry. But on Kimberley, like many other police stations, we can continue to be attacking the police officers, but we are creating the environment for criminals to thrive. So if we don't change that, let's not blame the police officers. The NFP will support us. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Sheikh Imam. And now I recognize Honorable Cope.
You may pass, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. PAC for completeness. Honorable members, now I recognize Honorable Molegwa, MA, ANC.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. In May this year, the committee visited 2 training facilities where young men and women are being trained and equipped with skills to become qualified police officers in Kimberley and in Tshwane. We had a fantastic engagement with many recruits, and we saw their pride to be part of the South African Police Service. Over the past 2 years, the South African Police Service embarked on an aggressive recruitment drive, recruiting in 20,000 additional sets of boots on the ground. We welcome these initiatives from the President and the Minister of Police in response of escalating crimes level. Honorable Chairperson, the recruits that we met in Kimberley and Tshwane represent a new generation of our people service that will enhance the image of the police and build trust in the communities. These young men and women have been offered an opportunity amid so many unemployed young people across our nation. The recruits receive salaries, medical aid, accommodation, uniforms, just to mention the few. Make no mistake, this is not a handout and it's not a charity, but a lifetime opportunity. The recruits have been selected from 1 million applicants and have passed rigorous physical and mental tests. They are the first-rate candidate and deserve their place in the academies. We want to urge the South African Police Service to focus on gender parity during future recruitment drive. We need to attract more females to the police service, and the department should address the barricade that discourages women to join the South African Police Service. In conclusion, Chairperson, the committee once more expresses its gratitude to our Honorable President Cyril Ramaphosa and approving the recruitment for additional police recruits, and the Minister of Defense and Military Veterans for the use of the 3 SI based in Kimberley. And many more, may the project 10,000 be continued in years to come, and may it yield many more fruits. The ANC support the report as presented, Chairperson. I want to thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. Honourable Members, that concludes the debate. Fourth order of the day, which is the consideration of the report of the Portfolio Committee on Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities on petition from the Post Office to Parliament Tax Team and the Uyinene Mrwetyana Foundation, calling on the Assembly to establish the National Council on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide. I now recognize Honorable C. N. Daba, the chairperson.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, I want to check with you. Do I have 5 minutes or 4 minutes?
It's 5, Honorable Member.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Thank you very much, Chair, and good morning, honorable members of the House. Chair, I'm presenting the report, the petition calling for the Assembly to establish the National Council on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide, dated 6 September 2022. The Portfolio Committee on Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities met on the 15th of March 2022 to consider the petition calling for the establishment of the National Council on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide, submitted by Ms N K Sharif, a member of the Democratic Alliance and a member of the Portfolio Committee. Ms Sharif submitted the petition on behalf of the Uyinene Mrwetyana Foundation on the 7th September 2021, calling for the Assembly to establish the National Council on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide. The Speaker of the National Assembly referred the petition to the Portfolio Committee for consideration and report. Subsequently, the committee was briefed by Ms Sharif and the Uyinene Mrwetyana Foundation on the petition on the 15th of March 2022. The committee was also briefed by the Department of Women in response to the petition. Ms Sharif indicated that the motivation for this introduction of the petition was the ongoing scourge of gender-based violence and femicide in the country. She outlined the following recommendations as per the petition to the committee: that the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disability fast-track the establishment of the council, that the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disability report to the committee on the progress on the establishment of the council and must include feedback from NEDLAC, feedback from their public participation, and a timeline on when it will be tabled in Parliament. And that the department should also report to the committee on the role of GBVF Secretariat in the establishment of the council. And that the committee should visit the UMF in the Eastern Cape. the committee should visit Post Office to Parliament task team in Cape Town as they conduct research on the postcards collected. And the foundation indicated in its petition that the National Council on Gender-Based Violence has not yet been established to implement the NSP. To this end, the foundation made specific requests to 5 portfolio committees, which members can read on our report. Yeah, members can read on our report. With respect to the National Assembly, the request was that the National Assembly hold the presidency, and the rest of the executive accountable for the delayed action in establishing the council and implementation of the NSP. That all sectors involved in this process were urged to act decisively in ensuring that the fight against GBV remains a priority for the state. Furthermore, request that government body be designated to hold process and store the letters the foundation delivered until this can be achieved. As noted previously, the Portfolio Committee also afforded the Department of Women to respond to the petition at the meeting on the 15th March 2022. The committee noted and supported the recommendations outlined in the petition and adopted a report in this regard on the 15th March 2022. Furthermore, the committee outlined specific recommendations in its report to the Uyinene Foundation and the Department of Women, Department of Justice, and Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. The committee remains committed to oversight, monitoring, and evaluation of mechanisms to combat the scourge of gender-based violence and femicide in the country. It can report that there has been progress with regard to some of the recommendations in the petition, Chairperson, as the committee is currently dealing with the National Council on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide bill. Once finalized, Chair, the bill as the enabling legislation will provide for the establishment of the council as a statutory body, which is responsible for providing strategic leadership on the elimination of gender-based violence and femicide in South Africa, and affirms a national commitment to building a society that is free from all forms of gender-based violence and femicide, Chair. And thank you very much, Chairperson, for affording us to present this report. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member Ndaba. I now recognize Honourable N K Sharif. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, House Chairperson. The process of getting this petition to Parliament was started by an initiative called the Post Office to Parliament campaign. And the aim was to, 1, get young people from across the country to put their views and the response to GBVF by government onto postcards, and was part of the petition and the memorandum that was handed to the Minister of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities. And number 2, to demand the establishment of the National Council on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide. The aim of this initiative was to facilitate over thousands of letters demanding justice and reconciliation from the Post Office in Claremont to Parliament. By using text from the Women's March in 1956, the Post Office to Parliament task team highlighted the need for freedom from GBVF and the need for equal rights and safety for women and those who are vulnerable to GBVF. The letters that formed part of this petition were shared from approximately 15 schools and received over 12,000 letters from across the country. These were used as prompts to facilitate discussions and bring to the forefront the fears and experiences of so many. The recommendations as per the petition included: number 1, that the Portfolio Committee on Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities use all measures available to hold the executive accountable. Number 2, that the PC on Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities to ensure that that the National Council on GBVF is constructed within the model envisioned in the NSP, the National Strategic Plan, where society is properly represented on the council by 51%. Number 3, the necessary funds are made available to form the National Council on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide. Number 4, progress on the formation of the National Council on GBVF is made publicly available through reporting. Number 5, that the appropriate legislation is put in place to ensure the transparency and accountability of this council. And lastly, that the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services to oversee the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development's development of enabling legislation for the NCGBVF. This Portfolio Committee must place pressure on the courts to hear the trials of Jesse Hayes, Dasnay van Wyk, and Megan Kremer. Chairperson, I would like to thank the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, as well as the Portfolio Committee on Women, Youth, and Persons with Disabilities, for the opportunity to have this petition tabled in the committee and for supporting the recommendations I had put forward together with the Post Office to Parliament task team. As mentioned earlier, the chairperson did outline the recommendations I had put forward, so I won't go through it again. Just again, thank you for going through it and supporting the recommendations that we had put forward. Chairperson, as we stand today, the bill for the establishment of the National Council on GBVF is currently before the committee, and it is our mission to ensure that this bill is the best it can be. As a team in the Portfolio Committee, we are working together to ensure that the voices of those who have and are being affected by GBVF is placed on the top of the agenda. I would like to make mention of the Post Office to Parliament task team and the Uyinene Mrwetyana Foundation and thank them for trusting me to submit this petition on their behalf. Emily Orion, the project manager, Sarah Sydenham, the petition drafter, Samekelo Ngadi, and Masimbulele Buso from the UMF. The work that you do to protect those vulnerable to GBVF can never be understated, and we salute your work and your efforts to end GBVF. Chairperson, I hereby request that the House consider and approve this report. I thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I now recognize Honorable EFF.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, the death of Uyinene Mrwetyana more than 5 years ago focused the spotlight on the prevalence of sadistic violence against women in this country. While the death of Uyinene was not the nor that last of the violent murders against women in the country, it at least governalized society. Today, we are fully aware that women are not safe anywhere in this country, not at work, not at schools, not at post offices, and not even at church, as the case of Pastor Umotoso clearly shows. The establishment of the National Council on Gender-Based Violence may help in developing strategies for the collective fight against GBV, but it certainly is not the answer to all the problems. These problems are societal in nature and have much to do with social attitudes and with economic opportunities for women. The problems also relate to the woeful incapacity of the police to truly investigate these crimes, the incompetence of the NPA to successfully prosecute the crimes, and the inability of the judiciary to appreciate the context in which GBV takes place. As we speak today, the people who killed Namhla Mthwa in the Eastern Cape are still at large. Major Bheki Zulu, her boyfriend who violently abused her while she was alive, was never even questioned by the police. These are the issues that need to be involved in order to properly honor the victims of GBV, such as Uyinene, to ensure no other women in this country will suffer as Uyinene did. We welcome the introduction of the National Council of GBV Bill, but argue that more is needed to deal with this. We welcome the report. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I now recognize the IFP. FF Plus, Honourable Brecht. Over to you, Honourable Member.
Thank you, House Chair. House Chair, in South Africa, 1 woman is being raped every 3 hours. South Africa is considered to be the rape capital of the world, with 10,818 rape cases reported in the first quarter of 2022. The rate at which women are killed by intimate partners in this country is 5 times higher than the global average. In the first 3 months of 2023, 10,512 women were raped, 1,485 attempted murders of women were reported, 969 women were killed, and over 15,000 women were assaulted. In the period between April and June of 2023, more than 890 women and almost 300 children were killed. Year on year, this is higher than last year. In a study, it was found that governments often lack the ability to address GBV, even where laws and codes of practices are in place, mainly because it is tied up with gendered power relations that are deeply entrenched in some cultures. The lack of political and institutional will to deal with GBVF is sustained by public attitudes. Gender-based violence is seen as part and parcel of life in many societies, and there is little or no pressure on governments to address it. I repeat that this is what a study found. South Africa is no exception to this finding, but proves the statement. It is not because South Africa lacks legislation to deal with criminals, but our justice system does not protect victims, and more often than not, traumatizes them more. This can be seen with sexual offences courts, where victims are often only a metre or 2 away from their abusers. The DNA backlog, the shortage of rape kits at police stations, and the lack of social workers in necessary positions further strengthens this fact. Chairperson, Honourable Sharif and the Uyinene Foundation are not asking for anything out of the ordinary. They are merely asking for state departments to start doing their work, to focus on what is wrong, to improve it, to better and to stop procrastinating. The plight for strengthening the fight against GBV is not only noble and necessary, but needs to be addressed with a seriousness we are not currently seeing. If these recommendations are actually carried out, South Africa will have taken a step in the right direction. We will support this report.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I now recognize NFP.
Chairperson, the ACDP is on the platform as well, and we will be making a declaration.
Okay, because on the list here, we are not here, but nevertheless, let me allow you then, while the NFP preparing himself to be ready. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Chair. Chairperson, the ACDP rises to acknowledge the courage of the family of Uyinene Mrwetyana, who ensures that her life still speaks today. It is 4 years since that dark August in 2019 when Uyinene, Jessie Hess, and Megan Kramer became names we will never forget. And since then, too many stories of loss and heartache has been added. The names of loved ones that families and communities will never forget. Their passing is a painful reality of the country we live in and the failures of our democratic dispensation. Our concern as we consider this report, Chair, is that we as legislators and policymakers may fall in the trap of weaponizing gender-based violence, especially in the current climate of extremism and the targeted aim against the traditional family unit. I noted the original recommendation that the National Council consist of 80% women and individuals from the LGBTQI community. This would have been an extreme discriminatory recommendation. I am very glad that the committee removed it as a recommendation, but it again speaks to the concern that the fight against gender-based violence becomes an unbalanced and ideological attack on healthy traditional structures such as the family. Legislation provides frameworks for law and should consider the social environment, values, and beliefs
Honorable member, honorable member. No, just mute that honorable member, please. ICT, take out that member, please, from the platform. You may proceed, honorable member, and I'm sure that member is out of the platform now.
Thank you, Chair. Legislation provides frameworks of law and should consider the social environment, values, and beliefs of the people it affects. The family consisting of a mother and father is still the cornerstone of healthy societies. Research has shown that boys growing up without the support of healthy family structures consisting of both a mother and father is prone to destructive behaviors. We support the call for urgent and accelerated efforts in lawmaking, but we are concerned that GBV becomes a weapon of social re-engineering and the marginalization of men. We should avoid the pitfalls of extreme gender ideology that views men as enemies and the traditional family unit as outdated. Our job as lawmakers is to be cognizant of the underlying factors that drives violent behavior, and we should push for the strengthening of support for families, advocate and fight for better health services for mental illnesses. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I now recognize one second, honorable members, so that I don't skip anyone. NFP, honorable NFP, over to you, Honorable Sheikh Imam. I guess you are not on the platform. I now recognize UDM for completeness, ATM, Good, AIC. Honorable Cope, are you still on the platform?
I'm still here, Chair, you can pass.
Okay, thank you very much, honorable member. Honorable PAC. I now recognize Honorable GP Marekwa. Over to you, honorable member.
Thank you, Honorable House Chairperson of the session. In response to the petition as submitted by Ms. Sharif on behalf of the Uyinene Mrwetyana Foundation, the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities took substantial steps to pave a way forward on the matter as presented. This response by the department is indeed, Chairperson, a display of a listening government. The department's presentation outlined the comprehensive approach to the bill and its fundamental components, the structural framework of the NGBF and the National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide. The department demonstrated the commitment to expedite the legislative process by introducing the bill to Parliament within the ongoing fiscal year following the approval by the Cabinet in September 2021. Amid these momentous developments, it is very important to note the proactive role undertaken by the ANC in ensuring the progression of this pivotal legislation. The ANC's unwavering dedication to build a society where women can exist without fear and violence, with their rights upheld, is eminently commendable. This staunch commitment is proof of a resolute commitment to forging a brighter future for all. Moreover, the ANC steadfastly believes in moving beyond policy formulation to the rigorous implementation, monitoring, evaluation of proposed initiatives. The Portfolio Committee is currently busy considering the National Council on GBV and Femicide bill. This is a reflection that the ANC is committed to combating GBVF and the call by the president who characterized this problem as a pandemic. In conclusion, Chairperson, the holistic approach supported by the ANC is a testament to our unwavering dedication to creating a South Africa where gender-based violence is relegated to the past, and the promise of a more equitable and secure future for all becomes a steadfast reality. ANC supports the petition and its recommendation. I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Member and Honourable Members. That concludes the debate and the business of this virtual mini-plenary 3 session. The mini-plenary will now rise.